You see, I think everyone has got this wrong. And on January 6th, I was on and ride along with the police, which I do frequently. And sometimes they let me make siren noises out of the window. Anyway, on January 6th, I brought my pipe with me, which I do frequently. Sometimes I smoke the pipe. But this time, they told me to get out and get rid of it. So I put it under the park bench next to my friend Kamala. Next thing I know, people are saying bomb, bomb, bomb. I think there is a lot of confusion here. I'm sure my dad will sort it out.
General, it all started with you. You were the first man, certainly not the first man in history, but the first man in the modern Trump era framed by the federal government. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, subpoenaed this weekend, late into the small hours of the evening on Friday, based on their collusion in order to destroy your life. Your response, General.
Yeah, so Benny, let's, and I don't know how much time you want with me this morning here, but for your audience, which is really an important audience, because your audience is not just listening to you, but they spread themselves all over, certainly our country and all over the world, on things like social media and in various conversations in communities writ large. And I think the single biggest problem that Donald J. Trump has right now is I don't know, it's like there's a loss of trust. And this loss of trust was clear from the last administration, and it's trust in the institutions of government. So the big, the big picture here is Donald Trump, President Trump, has to reestablish trust with the American people. He's got to do it, and he's got to do it here, in a very short period of time. And every day that goes by, he loses a little bit more of an opportunity to reestablish the trust. Now, so let's put that aside, because specifically, you just made a really a strong statement that there's only one terrorist in the J6 with this pipe bomber. Actually, what I would offer is that there is a conspiracy, and it's a continuing conspiracy to undermine our country, right? And it all started when Donald J. Trump actually won the election in 2016. So you're right to say that I was at the beginning of this thing, because I was one of the key targets at the very beginning. So,
yes.
Why me, right? Why me? And why am I on right now talking about this specific
You
issue?
were the target.
Yeah.
They were obsessed with you, General.
Yeah,
you were the target.
Right. And it's because, and anybody that's been paying attention to me for years now understands why. But again, I have had, nearly 4 decades of my life in the world of intelligence, counterintelligence, and specifically the world of counterterrorism, and conducting operations, not only, from a foreign perspective, but also from a domestic perspective, because I worked at the highest levels of our government, running one of the largest intel agencies, and also at the highest level of our intelligence community, as one of the deputy directors of national intelligence. So not only for a short period of time as national security advisor. So I have this abundance of knowledge and experience that lets me see things, and I still am able to see things because I have various networks of people that that continue to operate, and they're looking at these same issues. The big issue here, Benny, and to your great audience and those that listen, and I know there's a lot of people that listen to you and are influenced by the kinds of people that you have on, as well as what you say. There is a conspiracy, and it continues to operate today, to undermine and to take over the United States of America. Anybody that follows me on X, I posted something on X this morning, which is a warning. It is a warning, again, that I continue to put out there, because I want people to understand that this has not ended. So let's specifically talk about this pipe bomber, right? I mean, there's going to be evidence that's going to come out. And again, because I know Cash and I know Dan Bongino, and I've had backs and forths with them, over the last few weeks and months. And that's fine, because I am trying to make sure that they understand that the American people that I talk to at a grassroots level, and I talk to thousands, and I continue to go around, and I love people. I love to engage with people, and I do it routinely. They're telling me what's going on. Is there, why aren't these people doing more? What is happening? So all we want to know, all we, the American people, want to know is that the leadership of our government, right? The leadership of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the leadership of the Department of Justice, the leadership in the White House is not trying to hide something. They can no longer hide something from us. And I don't believe that they are. What I do believe, and let me just take the FBI as an example, because, and I know Cash and Dan both, and I have the greatest respect for them. This is an organization that's about 40,000 people. Both of these men have only been in there for a few months. So I got all the, this is the early stages stuff that we are dealing with. The American people are not seeing enough reforms. They're not seeing enough, of I guess, standing up courageously. And I don't, and I'm being a bit pejorative here, but not standing up courageously enough to say, hey, look, we have identified serious problems in the FBI. I mean, look at what Congress has already demonstrated, that there was 250, 300 FBI agents on the Capitol grounds of January 6th. We know that, and I've said this before, even this pipe bomber, like, people are going to study this person, this now working for the CIA or whatever, ad nauseum. But you cannot have that many people, and I know this, and I'll say it again, and I may have said it on your show before. You cannot have that many people show up on one day without having a plan prior to that, right? So and we didn't know, the American people, there was no intent to have some type of insurrection on January 6th. The only people that I can pin that talked about intentionally having some type of plan for January 6th, in this case, is the FBI for sure, Nancy Pelosi for sure, who had a film crew there, but the FBI for sure had a plan to do something, that was really against what we thought was supposed to happen, which was a peaceful demonstration to show our respect and our love and our trust in the President of the United States, to listen to what he had to say. Yet we had 300 people, and I'll just use the number 300, FBI agents that day, and also on the 5th, because the pipe bomber, when the time frame that they put the pipes out there, when the drivers were parked across from the Capitol Club there, I mean, all these things had to have been planned. None of this stuff happened in a vacuum. None of this stuff said because people woke up, Ray woke up that morning of January 6th and said, hey, I got to have 300 guys out there, all dressed as MAGA, all trying to infiltrate, to get people from around the country to show up, okay? To show up to Washington, D.C., because apparently some of these individuals, they didn't come out of the Washington field office. They didn't come out of the FBI headquarters. They came from all over the country, and they showed up. And we know of buses that came in. So we know too much about this. All of that had to have been planned. For people to show up to Washington, D.C., if you're an FBI agent and you're told, hey, come into Washington, D.C., for a week's worth of events, which is essentially what they were told, they got to get extra pay, they got to get their flights, they got to get all the kinds of things that a government employee has to go through, and they have to sit down there. Somebody sat them down, not on the 6th, probably not on the 5th, but days prior. And those are the types of people that I want. And I want Kash Patel and I want Dan Bongino to go after these people. The police car that they waved to, that this alleged pipe bomber waved to as they were going by, I guarantee that somebody can find out who that police car was. What did they think that person was? Are they being asked questions? I mean, the level of details and the level of knowledge that we have as American people. So let's stop all the BS. Let's stop all the conspiracy theories, Cash and Dan, and let's get to the facts of what we now know, what the Congress has already demonstrated, what we are starting to see from, the Blaze, from you, from others. And let's come out to the American people now, and I mean now, because time is not on our side. Time is not on Donald J. Trump's side. I mean, big win, get the government opened up. I got all that. Wonderful. There's a lot of other challenges that we are facing. There's a lot of glass balls that are being juggled by this administration. War in Europe, war in the Middle East, war potentially in the Southern Hemisphere of regarding Venezuela. We got all these issues, right? All these glass balls that are being juggled. the greatest, the biggest glass ball that is very fragile is the glass ball of trust. And if the American people, or if our institutions of government don't understand that, I implore them to understand that. If they drop that ball, and I'm telling you, it's like this. It's like they're trying to do all these things over here from a foreign perspective, but the glass ball of trust, Benny, is the most fragile. And
of course.
And it's only been restored a little bit. It hasn't been restored completely. It's only been restored a little bit because the American people said last November, we want you, Donald J. Trump, we're giving you the full judgment and the full weight of our desire to do something better for our country. And he hired a group of people, and we can go through the whole litany of them if you want, but he hired a group of people to basically help restore that trust. And that's what we want. So I want our leaders, because we have a different media environment, Benny, and you're a big part of that. But we have an alternative or an independent media environment that's moving at I call it the speed of war right now. And so you got to get out in front of it, because once something starts to go, then division creeps in to our movement. And our movement is not the MAGA movement. Our movement is the American Patriot movement. And it is a bunch of people in this country that love our country, and they will go with the sound of the guns if Donald J. Trump, if Kash Patel, if Pam Bondi, if Tulsi Gabbard, if Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, all get out there and tell us what it is that they are doing to juggle those balls so they don't drop them. In this particular case, back to the very beginning, back to the essence of our conversation today, which is about this pipe bomber. This is an easy one. This is a very easy one. Bring that person in that everybody's identified. Apparently, they're still in the government, and question them. Easy. And if they can't pass the muster, then put them under investigation and let the American people know that they're under investigation. That's the same with Russiagate. It's the same with everything else that's going on. I mean, and I'll stop here in a sec, Benny, because I know it's your show here, but I want your audience to know that if there's one thing that I live for, and there's one thing that I demand of myself, and I demand it of our government, is honesty. And we're imperfect. I got it. We make mistakes. I got it. But I want honesty, and I want honesty right now, and I want it because we are going to run out of time. And I'm very concerned about this last election, Benny, this last election that just occurred. People aren't paying enough attention to what exactly happened during that. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to go to the 2026 elections and suddenly we go, oh, shoot, we should have, would have, could have done all these other things. And we wake up and we no longer have Congress. That would be devastating. And like I said, we're not one generation away from losing this country, as Ronald Reagan said, losing all our freedoms. We're one presidency. And now my point is we may be one election away if we don't move faster. People need to move at the speed of Trump. Trump is moving at lightning speed on everything that he does. And all I'm asking for those that are working inside of the government is to try to keep up with them.
Well, General, you began by asking how much time we have. We have 25 minutes. That was the first 15. So I want to go quickly through the next at least two questions that I have for you. First, on the pipe bomb. What do you, based on your extensive experience in terrorism, counterterrorism, ops, and leaving out, I guess, some of the larger scale allegations in this big piece, what was this op?
Yeah.
What did you see? What do you see when you see the pipe bomber and you see what happened on that evening of January the 5th? What was going on there based on your extensive experience?
Yeah, let me tell you a quick story. In Afghanistan, a vehicle was blown up by a bomb, by a roadside bomb, millions of pieces. We did very, very detailed forensics of the device. Okay, I mean extremely detailed forensics of that device, and we would find these what we call latent fingerprints. And I mean, this thing is in a million pieces. Sadly, soldiers were killed in that roadside bomb. But we were able to find a latent fingerprint. I mean, a partial fingerprint. And then from that fingerprint, we were able to then identify the individual who was the creator of that bomb, who made that bomb. That wasn't the person that put the bomb in place, but it was the person who made the bomb. We then went after that individual, and it took us a little bit, and we eventually killed that individual, and this was on the battlefield. So there are ways to forensically, and I mean examine to the nth degree exactly what is being carried, what is being placed. And I mean, they will make a mistake. These people will make a mistake. So that's number one. The other thing is, this is easy. We can solve this problem very quickly by looking at the perimeter, looking at the phones, looking at the folks that were parked around there, asking questions. I mean, you know, you mentioned earlier on about the Secret Service detail that was there. They were told about it, and they went back to drinking their milkshake. I mean, come on, folks.
They sat and ate we have footage of it. They ate their lunch. They finished their lunch. Hey, so, pipe bomb here. Okay, great. I got a hoagie.
Right,
that's what happened.
But none of us should be asking these questions right now. These should have already been answered, and I hope that they have been. I hope that the FBI and Cash and Dan have created a task force to look specifically at this issue, because we did have at the time the Vice President of the United States in that building.
Yes.
There's a bomb. Somebody
Yes.
planted it. We now have what clearly looks like a suspect. But I would tell you, there's so much in terms of detailed forensic analysis that I believe still must be done.
Wow.
And I would
what
tell
was
you,
the op then, General? What was the purpose of the op? Our functional theory here, based on interviews with Stephen Sund, was to draw forces away from the Capitol to make it vulnerable. Do you agree with that, or is there something I'm missing?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it was a distraction or a deception. I really don't. I think that this was so well planned that these are just events that then when you connect the dots, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you connect the dots, you go, oh my God, you know, Donald Trump and some cohort of people, you know, they planned an insurrection against the United States of America on this, you know, fateful day of 6 January. No, I actually think that this is another element that planned this conspiracy. And then these were elements of that conspiracy and the bombing, you know, a pipe bomb delivered somewhere. This is not to draw forces away. They had plenty of forces. They had the entire Capitol Police. They had the Metropolitan Police Department that, you know, and I'm a fan of some of these men and women that are there, but there's clearly a group of them that were part of this. The Capitol Police, for sure. Elements of the Secret Service, elements of the FBI. We already know elements of the FBI were involved in it. So this wasn't to draw resources away. This was to have a nice, neat package that made it look like Donald J. Trump was going to commit some type of insurrection of our country at a time when clearly that was not the case. And
just to pin it all on MAGA.
Yeah,
exactly. That's why I say, General, you'd have all of the MAGA base and everyone in America first being like, catch this terrorist. It's bewildering to me, General, because this is the terrorist that you would assume would unite the left and the right. You want to catch them.
Exactly.
Everybody says, go catch this person. And yet this seems to be the only J6er that can't be identified or caught. It's very strange to me.
Well, it's also, and remember, the sitting vice president, you know, at the time, I mean, we're talking about, in terms of Kamala Harris.
Vice President-elect,
yeah. Vice President-elect was in that facility.
Yes.
I mean, and it's like, and we're kind of like, no, I mean, we're like, oh, this is.
And they never talk about it.
They never talk about it.
They never talk about it. They've never used that as like as a victimhood card. Right. Okay, so you're no victim, and obviously you are victorious against these actions against you. But it must have put a small smile on your face, just even a crack of a smile on the general's face to see Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, the man who did the interview with you, by the way, to frame you, get dragged into a subpoena as part of the grand criminal conspiracy. Subpoenas that are an impaneled grand jury here in Southern District of Florida, not a friendly jurisdiction for them. Right. And I have to get your take on this, General.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is the necessary step, and I want to see these. I want to see these things happen very quickly. I'd add another name, Joe Pienka, who was actually in the office with me, and Peter Strzok, and in most, you know, and everybody knows now that I didn't lie to those guys right at that time, but they then turned the whole thing around. So it's not just about me, but, you know, I actually feel very bad about that fact that this is happening to our country. But it is. We have to face the reality. And these subpoenas, I think, are just the beginning But I'm telling you that time is not on America's side. It is not on President Trump's side. And I can see it in his face. I can see it in his words. Sometimes when he gets frustrated about the things that aren't happening. And American people also. I mean, you can see it online. I see it. So I want this to happen. I want it to happen on a faster timeline. And there are other people who are not named in that headline that could be brought in and questioned. And believe me, they would give up the farm because they know exactly what happened because they were in the room. They were in the room. And when these conversations were happening about conspiring to overthrow the United States of America solely because their heir apparent to the undermining of our country, Hillary Clinton, was not elected in 2016. That's the whole reason. And now we're here in 2025. We got another month and a half left or so of 2025. And we're all sort of still waiting. And I think that I'm not going to speak for Donald Trump, but I think President Trump, honestly, I think he gets up like I get up sometimes with a feeling of anxiety, like this shit needs to move faster, Benny. And I'm talking to the people that are around him because the American people are tired of it. And I'm telling you, you got more and more, guys and gals that are out there with big voices that are saying, hey, what's happening? And we want it to happen faster.
What's your parting message to indicted James Comey, who's now making court appearances, and now to Peter Strzok, who is under federal investigation?
Yeah, my shot to James Comey is, James, do the right thing and help save this country, right? If you did something to undermine this country, which it appears that you did, and there's an abundance of evidence, don't try to wait it out because there's some subversives inside of the Department of Justice in various districts that are going to help you out there, buddy. Do the right thing for the future of America. You will then be remembered as somebody who actually did the right thing at the right moment in history, and you took the higher moral high ground to do the right thing and to say the right thing. You know what, Jim? That's what you need to do instead of allowing your ego and your arrogance to drive you down into the bowels of hell, because that's where you're going to end up.
And your parting message to Peter Strzok, who put you under the gun and framed you, and now it turns out that he, the hunter, has become the hunted.
Yeah, Peter Strzok, boy, Peter Strzok and Joe Pienka. There's another one that doesn't get much play, but Peter Strzok, he's a guy that gave up on his country, on this country, in this beautiful country we call the United States of America, a long time ago. And I would say his mentor or his officer, his agent, is John Brennan. So Peter Strzok, you need to give up on John Brennan, because Brennan is at the center of everything.
I would say that if these guys flipped and then confessed and then assisted in the federal government's prosecution of this grand conspiracy theory, just like General Flynn is advising here, that General Flynn might be able to share his tailor with them. Because here's General Flynn this weekend, walking with the dopest jacket I have ever seen. This drip is fire, General.
It is.
What is this? Look at the footage, look at the photos of this incredible, what has to be a custom American flag Patriot jacket. Let's go. More.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Where did you get this, General?
I was given that at a conference that Gateway Pundit put on in Las Vegas called the Vindication Summit.
Look at this.
It's great. It's a full leather custom fit. I loved it. And it was an appropriate day for me to wear it. I don't wear it much, but it was an appropriate day for me to wear it with the Veterans Parade Foundation that does a beautiful annual national parade, not paid, and there's no money paid by the government at all. It's all from the grassroots of American citizens. And we had a wonderful day yesterday, great turnout, and I was honored and humbled to be the Grand Marshal.
What would you do, Chad? What would you do, Chad, if you saw General Flynn on a scooter, on a Lime bike, zipping through your hood in this jacket? What would you do?
It was
What?
cool.
What would you do? Look at these.
My wife and I.
We are saddened that you don't have that jacket on today. Maybe next time, General.
Next time.
Thank you so much. Obviously, everyone follow General Flynn. He's got millions of followers here on X and other platforms, and just one of the strongest voices for freedom in the whole damn world. Godspeed, General.
Godspeed. Thank you, Benny. Appreciate it.